How did a recording system installed to protect presidential memory become evidence that cornered a president? Because voice activation preserved private words before anyone knew which conversation would matter.
In February 1971, the Secret Service installed microphones and recorders for Richard Nixon in the White House. 7 microphones sat around the Oval Office, including 5 in the desk and 1 on each side of the fireplace.
More equipment covered the cabinet room, the executive office building, Camp David, and telephones. When conversation started, the machines started too. Here is the mechanism. Nixon gained an automatic private record, but the same record could later be subpoenaed and tested against his public defense.
The route through this story has 4 stops. First, the hidden microphones. Second, the moment investigators learned they existed. Third, the legal fight over who controlled the tapes. Finally, the 23rd of June 1972 conversation known as the smoking gun.
By the end, the point will be clear. Accountability changed when memory stopped belonging only to the people in the room. Watergate began before the tapes became public evidence. On the 17th of June, 1972, police arrested 5 men inside the Democratic National Committee offices at the Watergate complex.
They carried surveillance equipment and cash. The break-in created questions about campaign operations, money, and White House connections. Nixon and his aides denied that the president had approved a cover-up. Testimony could challenge that denial, but testimony has a weakness.
2 people can describe the same private meeting differently, and each side can accuse the other of lying or misremembering. The recorder changed that balance. Secret Service technicians connected microphones to mixers and recorders outside the rooms.
A presidential locator helped agents know when the system should be ready. In most recording areas, a voice-operated relay detected sound and began recording. After the room went quiet, the machine returned to pause. The cabinet room worked differently and was not fully automatic.
Nixon was not pressing a red button for every dangerous sentence. Recording became part of the room. He wanted an archive that could settle disputes, document foreign meetings, and support memoirs. Automatic operation made that archive unusually complete. But here is the turn.
The public learned about the system during the Senate Watergate hearings. Former White House aide Alexander Butterfield disclosed its existence in July 1973. Before Butterfield spoke, the committee had John Dean's account of conversations with the president.
After he spoke, investigators knew a machine might have preserved those conversations. The question changed from who should be believed to where is the tape. On the 16th of July, the Senate committee voted unanimously to subpoena tapes and documents.
One revelation had converted disputed memory into a search for a physical record. Nixon refused to provide the tapes and invoked executive privilege. Confidentiality, however, could not automatically hide evidence required in a criminal case. Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox pursued the recordings.
Nixon proposed arrangements that kept control inside the White House. Cox refused. On the 20th of October, Nixon ordered Attorney General Elliot Richardson to dismiss him. Richardson resigned. Deputy Attorney General William Ruckelshaus also refused and left office. Solicitor General Robert Bork carried out the dismissal.
The Saturday Night Massacre delayed the dispute but made the attempt to control evidence more visible. The catch was a gap. A requested recording from the 20th of June 1972 contained an erasure lasting about 18.5 minutes.
Nixon's secretary, Rosemary Woods, said part of the damage happened accidentally while she transcribed the tape. A photograph showed her stretching between a telephone control and a recorder. Technical reviewers later concluded that the gap involved multiple erasures. The boundary matters.
Missing sound invites speculation, but an absence cannot tell us exactly which words disappeared. It is evidence of damaged custody, not a transcript of the missing conversation. Now the stakes changed. The central legal case reached the Supreme Court in 1974 in United States v.
Nixon. The justices considered whether a broad claim of presidential confidentiality could defeat a subpoena for evidence in a criminal trial. On the 24th of July, the court ruled unanimously that Nixon had to surrender the requested tapes. The decision did not abolish executive privilege.
It rejected an absolute privilege when prosecutors had shown a specific need for evidence. That distinction kept the ruling tied to a real criminal proceeding, rather than a general demand to expose every presidential conversation. The payoff arrived in one recording, White House tape 741, to two captured Nixon and HR.
Haldeman talking on the 23rd of June, 1972, 6 days after the burglary. They discussed using the CIA to tell the FBI that parts of the Watergate inquiry might interfere with a CIA operation. That move would push investigators away from political connections.
When the transcript became public in August 1974, it contradicted Nixon's defense that he had not joined the cover-up early. Testimony, dates, subpoenas, and surrounding records supplied the context. The political result moved quickly. The House Judiciary Committee had already approved articles of impeachment.
After release of the 23rd of June tape, Republican support in Congress collapsed. Senior party leaders told Nixon that his position had become untenable. He announced his resignation and left office on the 9th of August, 1974. The recording did not create every fact in Watergate.
It removed the remaining distance between a private conversation and the president's public denial. Recordings are not perfect truth. Microphones miss words. Audio can be incomplete. Transcripts introduce choices. A tape may prove that a sentence was spoken without proving that an order was carried out.
The Watergate archive includes gaps, disputed words, and technical limits. Responsible use requires the original recording, a reliable transcript, dates, participants, and surrounding documents. The tapes are strong evidence because those pieces can be compared, not because sound is free of interpretation.
The larger mechanism reaches beyond one presidency. Power often depends on controlling records. A private meeting leaves memories. A memo leaves language that can circulate. A receipt leaves a transaction. A photograph fixes one angle. A recording preserves sequence and tone.
Each object changes what investigators can ask. In Watergate, the recorder narrowed the room for denial because it captured the president's voice before anyone knew which conversation would matter. The payoff is not that technology automatically defeats secrecy. Nixon's system stayed hidden for more than 2 years.
The tapes emerged because witnesses testified. A committee asked precise questions. Prosecutors issued subpoenas. Officials resisted pressure. Judges enforced process. And archivists preserved the record. The presidency was not cornered by a recorder alone.
It was cornered when a recorder, witnesses, subpoenas, courts, and public scrutiny formed one chain. What should carry more weight when power is challenged, a leader's explanation, or the record created before the challenge began? For more evidence-led stories like this, like the video and subscribe.
See you in the next one.